I'm extremely excited and honoured to be here. We talk about imposter syndrome. I'm not going to go into it too much, but I'm an extroverted introvert. Basically, I have to work hard at being an extrovert, but I've had many years to practice it. So firstly, thank you all for taking the time to share in not just my experience, but hopefully, and I'm sure most of you are already diversity, equity, and inclusion champions, ambassadors, and change makers. That is what I see. I don't see there being any expert in this field. I've been doing this 23 years and I know that much about diversity, equity, and inclusion, but it's probably that much more than other people. However, there is that much to learn. And the beauty of working in this area and working with individuals like yourselves is I don't need to know everything. What I need to be able to do is collaborate and work with others that are good at the things that I'm not very good at. And to me, that's one of the things that's kept me excited, and I mean genuinely excited about what I do every single day. I can tell you, hand on heart, I wake up every single morning knowing I'm going to make a difference. Haven't got a clue what difference that is, but it puts a smile on my face from the moment I wake up, and it doesn't matter what time I wake up. So yes, I've got a lot to share with you, but I'd like to take this opportunity, one, to thank Tamara, Adrian, and Roman for inviting me to share my knowledge and experience. And I really do hope that there are certain things that resonate with each of you. It'll probably be something different for each of you, but I am sort of delighted. So I'm going to pass you back to Tamara, who has a number of questions that I'm more than happy to answer and give you insights into my experiences of doing things. They may not always be the right way to do things, but they're my experiences.
Today. So I suppose the nice sort of way for everyone to, I guess, get to know you better and for us to refresh, what we already know about you is if you're able to tell us a little bit about what really drew you to work in this space, in diversity, equity, inclusion, and sort of that leadership kind of space as well. I suppose what would be really great to know about is whether for you it was more of a career choice, whether it was an organic kind of, growth, getting to know yourself a little bit better. You talked about the fact earlier that you see yourself as being sort of somewhere in between, introvert and extrovert, and these are really very, very powerful sort of things. So whether it's a combination of all things and multiple inspiration. And on the sort of other side of the spectrum, I suppose, is whether there was someone or something in terms of role model that you've identified that really shaped this journey for you. That would be wonderful to hear about.
Laura, thank you. It always makes me laugh when anybody asks me that question, partially because what got me involved was money. People that know me really, really well are really surprised by that answer, but it was money. And what I mean by that is prior to getting involved in diversity, equity, and inclusion 23 years ago, I spent 15 years as a publisher working for United News and Media. They own the Express, the Star, and 350 magazines. In my last 3 years at United News and Media, I became a troubleshooter. So I used to I was given magazines to revitalize. And one of the magazines that I was actually given was a local government recruitment publication called Opportunities. And Opportunities had 52,000 copies every single week, purely advertising that was sent into local government. So it was jobs for the boys and girls in local government, totally exclusive. And my my mission for opportunities was to look at what the readers wanted and what would make them look at that publication more. And just, everything's about being in the right place at the right time. And I totally believe in fate. And fate happened. One day I went to a conference and I had to stand next to the Commission for Racial Equality, a lovely chap called Ronnie Wilson. And he started talking to me about the amendments to the Race Relations Act that were coming in place in 2000. And I thought, wow, this is a brilliant opportunity, because Ronnie's job was to engage with local government to increase the awareness of the forthcoming amendments to the Race Relations Act. And I just happened to have a publication that had 52,000 copies every week into those individuals that he wanted to target. So we did a deal. I got him to promote the publications through the Commission for Racial Equality, and we promoted the amendments to the Race Relations Act. So I grew up, when I was in Birmingham, I was seen as Muslim. When I was in Glasgow, because my mum happened to be Protestant, I was seen as a proddy. And growing up, and this is one of the things that I believe shaped who I am, is partially that bicultural competency, that understanding of different cultures, different religions, and operating in between both.
We've talked about we've touched on sort of the Hunger Project a little bit, as well as the Yemen Proud initiative. Are you able to talk us a little bit through that?
Yes.
And how did some of these discoveries, I suppose, and learnings shape your practice as a current strategist? And if you're able to share maybe a positive case study or a program and initiative that you can link that into, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to touch on both. Firstly, the Hunger Project, which is an amazing charity. It's a charity that I got involved with in 2010, and again by total fluke. I coached the regional director for the UK, who happened to be a good friend, and he said, "Why don't you come and help us?" And I thought, "Yeah, I'll help you set up." And that relationship lasted for 10 years. I'm no longer an ambassador for the Hunger Project, partially because of other interests. However, it's so the work that's done on the Hunger Project is phenomenal. And again, they work in 3 different continents, so Africa, South Asia, and Latin America, and they focus on hunger and poverty. And their aim is to eliminate hunger by 2030. I know it's a huge task, but believe me, that the work they do is incredible. They had an impact on 16 million individuals, in 15,000 communities. And the key here, I'm not going to share everything that they do, but my biggest learning was the fact that it takes one individual. The focus for the Hunger Project was on women and developing women. And again, it's the old adage, give a woman a fish, feed her for a day, teach a woman to fish and feed her and her family for a lifetime. And the big focus was on developing women, giving them education, helping them to, giving them seeds to plant in the fields so that they could go grow crops and sell those crops, give them, repay the fee, but also make some profit to buy more seeds, and that's the simplest version. But once you see, when you work with, in different countries where there is huge amounts of poverty and hunger, when an individual does well, firstly, her children see that and learn from it. Her husband gets jealous, and believe me, this is a commonality. The husbands get jealous, want to make more money, and start to get involved. then the neighbours start to see, the individuals flourishing and want to get involved. And then the community get together, and start getting involved. And that's how the Hunger Project has developed. For some of you who are similar ages to me, you will know John Denver, who was a singer, and he wrote a brilliant song with the late sort of Olivia Newton-John, and he started the Hunger Project in 1977. And since then, it's just grown and grown and grown. And as I say, has an impact on millions and millions of people. But my learning from there is work with the lowest common denominator, and work with those women in the village, and you will see growth. You will see things happening. And even where I live now in Milton Keynes, one of the things that I'm really proud of is looking for those women in our communities. Looking at, there's a brilliant woman called Maria Affer, and she lives in one of the most deprived neighborhoods in the UK, which just happens to be in Milton Keynes. And I started working with her about 6 years ago, and she used to run barbecues or for single Nigerian mothers, 25 of them, each of them having at least 4 kids each. And they were all, as I say, divorced. And she's just grown and grown. Now she runs her own business and she's doing brilliantly. But it is about identifying and sharing whatever knowledge you have. So the Hunger Project, again, has inspired lots of different activities. But Yemen Proud is, even though I've written two lovely books and probably contributed to many others, there's Demystifying Diversity, but really this is my heart and soul. This is Yemen Proud, and this isn't about buying it. We produced 5,000 of these that we gave out to Yemeni kids in the UK that had no idea of their rich ancestry, their heritage, their backgrounds, their religions, or anything else. And all this is, it's simple. It's a chronology, and I know you can't see it all, but it's a chronology of Yemen. Coffee originated from Yemen. Mocha coffee. Mocha is a city in Yemen. There are so many different things that originated in Yemen, but we've even got the Manhattan of the world, where you've got 10-story buildings that were built 2,000 years ago. But that's, again, one of my prides. And again, purely to help educate and re-engage Yemeni kids with that heritage and background. And it's the sort of stuff that I love doing. So hopefully that's given you an idea of the Hunger Project and Yemen Proud. And as I say, everything I do will have an impact on my own future and hopefully the future of others. So Tamara, back over to you.
We have maybe just a moment, what I think everyone will sort of benefit from as well, and really keen to know about some of your work within the Centre for Global Inclusion. Is there anything you wanted to sort of touch and share with us?
The Centre for Global Inclusion is an international charity. We have 112 expert panelists. I was an expert panelist, in fact, I still am an expert panelist. However, in September last year, I got invited to be a director for the centre. And the centre the whole concept behind the centre is to give out free education, free resources. And one of those resources, and I hope some of you have already used it, is the Global Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Benchmark. And the Global Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Benchmark is a free audit tool. And it's free for anybody to use. And the concept behind that audit tool is most organizations, even organizations with heads of D&I, still don't know where they are in terms of good diversity, equity, and inclusion practice. We all think we know. We haven't got a clue because we've not done the audit. We haven't really analyzed our own organizations or the behaviors properly within our organizations. Most leaders believe that they are genuinely brilliant individuals that really value and respect the people that work for them. However, most of them haven't got a clue in terms of how individuals who are different to them experience the culture. So one thing about the audit tool, as I say, it doesn't benchmark you against anybody else. What it does is it creates a benchmark for you. So the audit, you get audited against a good practice maturity matrix to identify where you are on that matrix. And then, you have some idea of where your starting point is. Now, within that audit, there are 15 different classifications or groupings, and every senior leader gets involved in that audit. When you start off with senior leaders getting involved, they will start to drive the rest of the activity that's needed within the organization. Before you go on, do you mind if I just share a couple of other things with you in terms of good practice? I think this is really, really important for everybody. I have clients all over the world, and they range from Publicis Group that own Saatchi and Saatchi, right through to some of my brilliant clients in Iceland and many other countries. And again, BAE Systems, Rolls-Royce, we've worked for so many different organizations. We've just won the V&A in London and Santander Bank. However, my favorite of all clients, even though I shouldn't say this, is a 20-piece choir in Manchester in the UK. This is a 20-piece choir that recognize that they want to grow, they want to develop, they want to be more culturally aware, they want to play different music, they want to have different members of their choir, they want to do outreach into communities so that communities know who they are and what they do, and to actually ask communities for help in terms of shaping them. That is my smallest client. And when you start to see, and this is some of the changes that we're seeing, and the biggest change for me that I will share, because I should have shared it earlier, was the fact that for 20 of those 23 years, I'm not saying I felt invisible, but I was talking, but nobody was really listening intently or intentionally and doing stuff with what I was talking about. 3 years ago, we had Brexit, COVID, Black Lives Matters, and suddenly the world changed instantly. And, I'm still saying some of the things I said in 2000 to clients, but now they're actually doing stuff with it. And one of the reasons is those external influences, those external sort of, you could say, challenges that they're going to experience. When you've got 20-piece choirs who are voluntary, paying money to be trained, to drive diversity, equity, and inclusion in their tiny organizations, what impact is that going to have on those larger organizations that want to diversify their staff or want to focus on recruitment, retention, development, progression?